guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay, I'm back. It's Saturday, August 17th, and it's 9:21 p.m. Eastern Time. And I just wanted to tell you, my air conditioner is not on tonight, nor was it on last night, so the sound should have been very clear. But tonight, you will probably hear some back noises in the background because I am cooking with my Instapot. I should have been done by now, but I usually never cook with a recipe. I just kind of throw things in, and it always turns out great. And when I moved from Louisiana, I was sure to bring lots of Cajun spices and so forth with me. But anyway, this recipe I was following, I just because the Instapot is new, I follow the recipes until I get a feel for it. And this recipe that I tried, it was absolutely tasteless. So I finished it and I tasted it and I thought, oh my gosh, like this person must have been from Canada or something. We do have bland food up here except for our ethnic food. And so I was like, I can't eat this. So I had to doctor it all up and put it back on. And I'm probably I am a little hangry. You know, when you get so hungry, you get a little angry. But I can work through that if you can. So let's get started. We're going to touch on the news, and I should have come back last night. It was my full intention, but the cats had other plans. I won't get into that right now, but there's always a story. Always a story. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to survive their kittenhood, but I'm hoping I will. And these cats, my last cats lasted 21 years. And so if these cats last as long, I'm never going to get kittens again. No, I forgot. I was like 21 years younger the last time I had kittens. All right, let's get started. Enough of that. Now, let me go over here and just get into it. And we've got a little bit of everything here. I may do 2 videos tonight. We'll see how far I get with the first one. And if there's a lot left over, I will come back and do a second video. So let's look at this. If you haven't seen it, this is several days old now, but still worth a look. And this by a website called activistmommy.com says 9-year-old boy makes headlines after his drag show debut at LA Pride Parade. This was from August 14th, so not that long ago. 3 days. Nearly as disturbing as the growing epidemic of gender dysphoria among children is the drag kid trend, in which young, mostly prepubescent boys are not only allowed but encouraged to dress up as flamboyant women. One 9-year-old boy had the dubious privilege of making his drag debut at a Los Angeles Pride Month event back in June. Rather than offer loving guidance and protection from this hypersexualized art form, the parents of little Vincent Garcia allowed him to appear under his new alter ego, Dunca Shea Monroe, in a bronze sequin dress, green wig, silver sneakers, and rainbow striped socks. And this is the young boy, I don't know what to say. I feel bad because I feel like these children are being put in harm's way because they are around older men, some of which are attracted to young boys. Not all, but some are. And so they're sexualizing themselves at a very young age when they really should be just children and playing and having a good time. But and they're also being put in harm's way, if you ask me. I just don't think that it's healthy all the way around. But of course, I have my personal feeling about that, and I do believe that it's wrong, but that is my morals and values, and certainly people have to make their own decisions, but I just could not see ever placing a child in harm's way, no matter what your belief system is. So rather than, okay, we read that. Now let's go down, and there he is. Not an outfit that I would be caught dead in, but, you know, socks and sneakers with that sequin dress, but I do like the hair. I'm sorry, I do, you know, if it was on a woman. Or me. Anyway, Vincent's mother, Elizabeth Leva, told Metro News she hopes to set an example for other parents faced with a child who feels the need to express himself this way. My message to other parents is not to be afraid of letting your children show you who they are, Leva said. People dismiss children a lot and tell them they don't know what they want and are too young to understand, but they have their own minds just like everyone else. Well, I'll tell you, Mama, whoever you are and wherever you are, 9 years old, you do not know what you want. I thought I knew. And you know something? Actually, at the age of about 19, I was praying for something. I just thought I would die if I didn't have it. And you know something? I thank God that he didn't answer that prayer. Really, or that he answered it with a no, because yeah, you don't know. You change so much from the time you are 9, even to the time between 9 and 12. And then, you know, I mean, from 12 to 20, oh my gosh, you're a totally different person. And from 20 to 30, you're still growing and maturing. So I don't know, not that I'm saying that, you know, an older adult cannot make their own decision regarding this, but 9 years old is not an adult. And no, you don't know what you want. And even if you do, even if that child insists, why would you ever allow them to be placed in way of danger or be an object of sexual desire for middle-aged men? I don't get that. Anyway, there's a fly here. No, really, there is. Okay, so she says the worst thing you can do is shut them down and be small-minded, she added. At the end of the day, you should love and support your children 100%, regardless of whether they want to be a doctor, a cop, or a drag queen. Well, here's the thing. You know, like parents are now, I notice a lot, the kids get on the school bus and their hair's all freaky colors. To me, that's not an issue that I would have a big argument with my child if I had one, because you know what? It's hair. It grows back. The dye fades, and okay, if they want to express themselves that way, you go ahead. That's how I feel. But you know, when you're 9 years old and you want to put on a dress and over sexualize yourself and become an object of desire to men that may take that one step further, then, you know, to me, that would be, as a mother, I would say no. I mean, this is aside from my moral values, but just even taking that out of the equation, I still could not ever place a child in danger. But anyway. There is nothing inappropriate, confusing, or disturbing about a young child who wants to be a police officer or a doctor, people who work hard to help people and whose description is entirely wholesome and easy for a young child to grasp. There is nothing about either job that goes entirely against our very biological makeup. Being a male who slaps on a dress and goes out to make a disgusting mockery of femininity is an entirely different animal, and to suggest otherwise is a serious problem. There is nothing appropriate about drag for young children. Leva went on to share that Vincent began playing with her makeup and walking around their home in high heels at just 2 years old. Last I checked, 2-year-olds do all kind of ill-advised things. We don't let them play in the toilet because they're curious where the water goes. And you know something? My brother, who really was the biggest he-man, I mean, you wouldn't mess with him. He was over 6 feet tall and, you know, built, and you wouldn't mess with him. But you know, when he was really young, like under 5, he played with dolls. He played with dolls all the time. And you know, I think it made him a better father. I do, because he took care of his children. He loved taking care of his children. But my gosh, he was all man. Like he was, you know, a man's man. And so you can't judge somebody based on what they do when they're young. That doesn't make sense. I mean, when I was under 5, there were no little girls to play with, so I played with the little boys, and I played with dirt trucks and all that. But let me tell you, I am all girl, all woman now, and I love all the frilly things and the feminine things. You can't judge how somebody's going to turn out by then. And at that age, if any of you are parents, and I'm sure some of you are parents and grandparents, kids change all the time. I can't even begin to count how many things I wanted to be. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a construction worker. And a lot of these things that I wanted to be, they ran the gamut. So, come on. All right. I feel sorry for this boy. Yes, he should be able to express himself and express his creativity, but there's other ways. Leva also told Metro News that Vincent came to her a few years later to come out, thought he was nervous to make such an announcement. A few years ago, he would have been 7. Really, I wasn't thinking about anything like that at 7. I was thinking about, I was playing with guys because there was no girls in my neighborhood, but I did find, she was a couple years older, but she was always nice to me. And, we'd played dolls together, and, she was a little bit old for it, but she did it. And, that's what I was thinking about. I didn't even, honestly, at that age, I thought that I still remember this. I thought that women got pregnant by somebody kissing them. That's how naive I was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I better be careful not to let anybody kiss me. Seriously. Anyway, but now today, they grow up way too soon. In case you're wondering how such a young child could already be so seriously confused about natural sexuality and gender, Leva continues. We have always been very open with our children and answered questions they may have about the world, so Vincent knew about the LGBT community and what it means to be a part of it. There you have it, folks. That's exactly where the failure to shield your children from the pervasive sexual deviance in our culture leads. It's no different to how other children put on a costume and play dress up, Leva also said. How sorely mistaken she is. The Metro also states that Vincent wants to become a professional drag queen when he grows up, but Leva encourages him to focus on schoolwork to keep his options open, and has even promised him a sewing machine to make his own costumes if he earns good grades. Of course, knowing the state of most schools these days, Vincent is probably right at home there. As for the few people in his circle who refuse to play along with this drag fixation, Metro News refers to any unsupportive behavior as abuse, which Vincent usually receives from adults. Whenever people are nasty, he stands up for himself, but does it calmly and respectfully, Leva said. He says to me that he thinks anybody who is bullying must not have been taught by their parents that if they can't say anything nice, not to say anything at all. He knows there will be times in his life when people don't understand who he is, she concluded. We don't live in a perfect world where everybody accepts that love is love and you can't help who they are. All kinds of people can't help who they are because we live in a fallen world, but we don't accept immorality just because the world is imperfect. The world is also full of caring people who love this little boy and want him to grow up healthy and with guidance that is solidly founded on good, wholesome values, not confusion. What a tragic indictment of our culture that little boys like Vincent are encouraged to pursue unnatural desires. Please pray for this deceived little boy. Now, I don't know where you are on this whole issue, but I would assume if you're listening to me, knowing that I am staunchly conservative, that you would be more inclined to agree than disagree. You might be more middle of the road than me, but I would assume that we share similar values. All right, let's go on now. And okay. You're going to find this hard to believe. If you haven't heard it already, because it has gone viral, you're going to find this hard to believe. But This is what we're dealing with. And I'll tell you, I've been in positions of leadership where I've had to hire people and fire people, and I would not be able to, at this point in my life, deal with a millennial working for me that has an attitude like this. Let's go take a look. Millennial becomes unhinged after boss corrects her spelling of hamster. Yes, you heard that correct. Of all the things to become unhinged over. Being simultaneously comical and tragic, perhaps nothing reflects our descent into idiocracy more than millennials who'll insist their misspelling of words are correct. Just yesterday, I read an eyebrow-raising story about this that was quite timely, as I'd experienced millennial spelling moronity just the day before. My case involved a leftist who emailed me with some deep, substantive criticism. He said I was insane, nuttier than a fruitcake, and effing nuts. I responded to him, while I generally don't play the spelling Nazi, leftist characteristic superciliousness inspired me to mention to him kindly that he'd written your as your 3 times in 6 sentences. His response, I am under 40, he wrote. Your versus your is interchangeable. No, it isn't. Because when you hyphenate like this, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, that is, you're substituting a word there. That's why the hyphen is there. So it is you are. And you are in a sentence is very different than your, meaning a possessive, your. So anybody to even say that has, that's out there. So, but on to a far more interesting and dramatic story I mentioned earlier. According to the Fellowship of the Mind's blog, it's from a series of July tweets by a Georgetown University adjunct professor of public relations and journalism named Carol Blymeyer. It relates to something she'd witnessed, as the blog presents it. In office space near a client, a young woman was meeting with her boss. She was, by my estimation, in her late 20s. The boss, also a woman, was giving her feedback and reviewing edits she had made on something this young woman wrote. They had been speaking in low tones, but their volume got louder towards the end of the conversation because the young woman was getting agitated about a particular edit. That particular edit was correcting the spelling of hamster to hamster. She spelled it with a P. It does not have a P. Apparently, she had used the phrase like spinning in a hamster wheel. In this draft, presumably speech or op-ed, the young woman kept saying, I don't know why you corrected that because I spell it with a P in it. The boss said calmly, but that's not how the word is spelled. There is no P in hamster. Young woman, but you don't know that. I learned to spell it with a P in it, so that's how I spell it. Young woman, but, okay, the boss, hang on. So she's arguing, she's presented an article, her editor is looking over it, and the editor tells her that she has misspelled hamster. She gets increasingly more agitated because she says, well, you don't know that it's spelled that way. I learned to spell it this way with a P, which is absolute lunacy. No, she didn't. And, so this is how I spell it. The boss, remaining very calm and professional, said, let's go to whatever and look it up together. And this was a dictionary, app. Mind you, this is a woman in her late 20s, not a 5th grader. So she's in her late 20s and she's working as a writer. And this is her editor. And her editor takes her to the dictionary to show her how hamster is written. The young woman insists she does not need to look it up because it's fine to spell it with a P because that's how she wanted to spell it. The boss says, let's look over the rest of the piece so I can explain the rest of my edits. They do, and I can see the young woman is fighting back tears. The boss is calm, cool, and handles this with professionalism and empathy. Boss says, now see, I don't think I could be that cool, calm, and collected. because I'd be like, look, you know what? You're going to spell it the way it's spelled when you work here, or you can, take your pots and pans and go home, whatever. Take your crayons and, all right. So boss says, I know edits can be difficult, and they are. Anybody that's worked with an editor, edits can be difficult. And really, if you are your own editor, then you have an editor, you have a fool for an editor. That's what I always say, and I'm a writer. If you edit your own, then you've got a fool for an editor. Everybody needs, if they're writing professionally, they need an editor. It's easy to miss stuff. But boss says, I know edits can be difficult to go over sometimes, especially when you're working on new kinds of things as you grow in your career, but it's a necessary process and makes us all better at what we do. True. Boss gets up from table and goes to her office, and the young woman can barely hold it together. She moves. Now, granted, this is all over her adding a P to hamster and not wanting to remove it, as her boss has asked her to do. Boss gets up from the table and goes to her office, and the young woman can barely hold it together. She moves to another table in the common workspace area, drops all her stuff loudly on the tabletop, and starts texting. A minute later, her phone rings. It was her mom. She had texted her mom to call her because it was urgent. And I'm sure her mother maybe thought she was in the ER or something. She then puts her mom on speakerphone in the workplace. Now, if any of you have worked in cubicles, you don't do that. You just don't, because there's everybody working around you and you try to keep the noise to a minimum. You don't have a radio going that's going to distract somebody, whatever. But she puts it on speakerphone, something as personal as this. She bursts into tears and wants her mom to call her boss and tell her not to be mean about telling her how to spell words like hamster. My boss is being mean because I want to spell hamster with a P and she won't let me. Mom, can you call her, please? It sounded something like that. The mom tells her that her boss is an idiot and she doesn't have to listen to her, and she should go to the boss's boss, to file a complaint about not allowing creativity in her writing. And that's not. Spelling is not creativity, okay? You don't spell creatively. Yeah, that's not how creative writing works. And yeah. All right. The mother, the mother, of course, sides with her poor crying daughter. Mom, I want to spell hamster with a B. Why can't I? Because it's not spelled with a B. Anyway, the young woman kept saying, I thought what I wrote was perfect, and she just made all these changes and then had the nerve to tell me I was spelling words wrong when I know they are right, because that is how I've always spelled them. She then went on, still on speakerphone, mind you, to tell her mom, I'm very great. An office inappropriate detail about how hungover she was and what she and her friends did with some guys the night before. Mom laughed and laughed. Oh, you were so hungover and you did this and that with guys. All right, I'd be like, look, kid, you're in your late 20s. You've got a professional job. You do what the boss says, and you don't be out all night with and come to work with a hangover while you were screwing some guys. Like, what kind of a mother is this? That's why this woman is like the way she is. Anyway, the colleagues in and around the workplace kept looking at one another, and some even put earbuds, headphones on. It appeared as though this was a regular thing with her. I probably would have not just put the headphones on. I probably would have stood up and said, suck it up, buttercup. But that's just me. She ended the conversation asking her mom how she should bring this up with the boss's boss. I mean, I always spell hamster with a P. She has no right to criticize me. Yes, she does. She signs your paycheck. She ended the conversation asking her, okay, based on the way her mom spoke to her and the way they spoke to one another, it seems as though this young woman had never been told she was anything but perfect by family. Now, granted, this is a true story. This isn't made up. No, this really happened, which makes it really scary. Some people watch scary movies. This scares me because this is what is going to be running the country. And in some cases is, speaking of AOC and her ilk. Now, all right, her boss seemed as dumbfounded through the conversation as I was in overhearing it. I think I was most perplexed by the insistence of wanting to spell something the way she wanted to because she wanted to, ignoring the fact that there are rules and dictionaries, and seeming offended that anyone would suggest the use of an outside resource as reference. Yeah, this person should not be in that profession at all. Because if you're going to write for a living, you're going to have an editor, and you're not always going to agree with their edits. But in this case, it's a spelling error. Like you can disagree with an editor over, they say, well, this sentence is a little awkward or whatever. And you say, well, but, you can argue with that. You won't win, but you could argue with it. But when it comes to spelling, that's just out there. So, let's go on. Had I been the boss, I'm sure the young woman's tears would have flowed much sooner and more profusely. I agree with that. It would have been the result of the dressing down I'd have given her. I was never one to suffer fools gladly. The FOTM mentions that this isn't an isolated case either. In fact, the blogger, who apparently had taught in college herself, related a story about what transpired when an undergraduate complained to her about a poor grade she gave him on a paper. After telling him that she had trouble understanding his work because it was riddled with errors, he replied, "I don't subscribe to the rules of the English language," and marched from the classroom. Okay. It would be easy to chalk this up to inventive spelling, a phenomena of recent decades whereby instead of correcting a child's spelling, a teacher will allow him to misspell words based on his phonetic conception of them, but it goes far deeper than that. First, we live in the post-truth West. A study I often cite vindicates this assessment, showing that less than 10% of teenagers believe in truth, absolute, by definition, and that a majority of Americans are most likely to make what should be moral decisions based on feelings, which never works out well. Why is this relevant? If people believe truth doesn't exist and therefore that what we call morality, divine rules, is mere perspective, they probably won't care much about man's rules, especially since, by their lights, those rules can't possibly correspond to anything transcending man. Their governing philosophy then becomes, if it feels good, do it. And isn't that the philosophy of those who practice Satanism and Luciferianism? Do what thy wilt shall be the whole of the law. I think that is what is written in the Satanic Bible. It's pretty close, if not word for word. So, if it feels good, do it. This was evident in the young woman in the story who essentially insisted she was correct because her feelings told her so. Relating to this, there's also the narcissism, the solipsism, the self-centeredness that results when you raise godless children on self-esteem bunk and treat them as if their body odor is a floral scent. No, really, I knew somebody that swore he did not have body odor. It was not possible for him to have body odor. Yeah, he had body odor. Badly. It was the most bizarre thing. I'd never run across that in my whole life. I thought, my gosh, this man is delusional. As for employees who are mere overgrown children, I'd respond to their antipathy for rules and their inventive spelling by giving them an inventive Paycheck. Yes, that would be a really good way to deal with that. Yeah, I just decided I didn't want to put that zero on the end of your dollar amount. I don't know. Well, that's the way I've always done it. Well, I know it changes the amount, but I've always done it that way. Sorry. That's what I'd do. Of course. Yeah. Then she'd probably go and try to sue you, but really I would have fired her. Honestly, I would have. Like, okay, you need to spell by the dictionary, the English dictionary, or bye-bye. But that's it. We coddle these people far too much. And a lot of them, they think that they deserve a paycheck just for showing up. Really. It's hard. That's why a lot of places of business look for more mature people to hire, because a lot of the young people just think, well, if I show up, I deserve my paycheck. Yep. All right. Let's go on from that. And of course, you have heard about Donald Trump wanting to purchase Greenland from Denmark, and Denmark has now said it's interested in purchasing the U.S. It's interesting. Now, I don't know where he's coming from this. I know they have a lot of resources in Greenland, and it's hard to know with Donald Trump because sometimes he trolls and he does things on purpose. So it's hard to tell, for me anyway, where he's coming from with this, whether this is a troll, whether he's trying to prove something, or if he's serious. And who knows? Anyway, U.S. president has expressed interest in the icy territory, according to the Wall Street Journal, but the Danes have yet to weigh in. Well, they've weighed in now. Donald Trump is fond of bragging about his conspicuous wealth and buying power, plastering his name over. Okay, this is very, very biased, and I'm not going to read it because you know what? We hear enough of this crap all day long, and so I just wanted to basically bring it to your attention. But apparently now Denmark has weighed in, and they have said that they're interested in purchasing the U.S. Yeah, like that would be possible. Anyway, I don't think that they're going to give up their ownership anytime soon, unless Donald Trump knows something that we don't know and is trolling. I don't know. All right. And if you have any information about that, because I am at a loss as to what he may have been thinking or why he may have made that comment, if he did. So if you have any additional information, please put it in the comments below. I usually get to the first comments. I try to go through as much as I can the night that I post, but because I'm constantly doing videos and sometimes too in an evening, I just can't keep up with you all because it gets to be, hundreds and hundreds of comments. And so anyway, there you go. Let's go back. No, really, let's. Here we go. And let's look at this. Representative Tlaib wrote a letter to Israeli officials desperately wanting to visit her grandmother. Permission was quickly granted, whereupon Tlaib obnoxiously turned the approval down. A complete setup. The only real winner here is Tlaib's grandmother. She doesn't have to see her now. I know people are upset that he wrote that, but personally, I think it's funny because, and I wish they'd stop showing that where she got thrown out of a Trump rally, because the woman needs a bra. I mean, she's making, 70-some thousand a year. Can she not afford a bra? I mean, a supportive bra. A supportive bra. Yeah, I guess that is the right word, but I'm thinking of a bra that, never mind. You don't want to be in my head. Okay, now let's look at this. You'll find this interesting. Well, at least I think you will. But if you don't, then don't sue me or anything. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if Trump said he had defeated the record held by Elton John, but it was made fun of like crazy in the mainstream media and on Twitter and probably Facebook. I hardly ever on Facebook, but all right. So let's look at this, because as it turns out, he's right, as always. It seems like he is always right anyway. When he says something, it's generally right. And I don't think he would say something unless he knew it to be right. Otherwise, they would tease him mercilessly. They would be cruel. They would question his mental stability and everything else. So, sorry, Elton John, your record's not still standing. Fire Marshal says Donald Trump's boast that he smashed pop star's attendance record at Mega Arena is true. Yes, it is. Trump claimed he broke Elton's... Okay, so it was Trump's claim. Trump claimed he broke Elton John's attendance record at a Manchester, New Hampshire arena on Thursday night. Eye-rolling followed with opponents showing images of empty seats, like they always do, because they're always trying to counter whatever he says with their nonsense. But the Manchester Fire Marshal's office told DailyMail.com that it had counted 11,500 people entering the building, and a few more may have slipped in. That would break Elton John's 2004 record of 11,300, according to what arena officials told the fire department. Deputy Fire Marshal Mishel said that he and his staff estimated another 8,000 to 9,000 people couldn't get in and watched video screens outside. So had there been enough room for them, the record would have been really smashed by like almost 10,000. So let me see here. Hang on. They marked off where the outdoor crowd stood, computed the size of the area, and used a standard equation to determine how many people fit there. Trump has bent the truth on his crowd size claims in the past. I don't believe he has, including his insistence Thursday that his final 2016 campaign rally had 32,000 people. DailyMail.com saw him send a fake fire marshal out to tell an Arkansas crowd in February 2016 that he had broken ZZ Top's attendance record from 1974. That arena was half empty, and the fire marshal turned out to be the state fairgrounds facility manager. I don't know about any of that, but this is what they are claiming. Donald Trump's claim that his Thursday night campaign rally, a yawn almost tried to escape, broke a long-standing attendance record is true, according to the fire department official who supervised the crowd counting. Great news, the president tweeted after returning from the Southern New Hampshire University Arena to his New Jersey golf resort. Tonight, we broke the all-time attendance record previously held by Elton John at SNHU Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire. Manchester Deputy Fire Marshal Mishel told DailyMail.com that Trump was right, that the crowd numbered just over 11,500. Calling the president's tweet a topic of discussion around here, Katie revealed that the arena staff said Elton John was around 11,300 in April 2004. Katie also said that his office estimated that at least 8,000 people stood outside. At least 8,000 people stood outside the arena in an overflow crowd area watching the rally on jumbo TV screens. And there is his tweet, and there is the crowd. Trump tweeted this and other images Thursday night showing an enthusiastic campaign rally audience, some of whom waited outside since dawn to get a good spot. And you can tell it is packed. We weren't counting it, he said, of the outside crowd, but we estimated probably in the area of 8,000 to 9,000 out front. He and two deputies made notes Thursday night about the physical boundaries of the outdoor crowd, he said, and we measured out the space this morning. Based on the calculations we used for crowd load, he came to either 8,000 or 9,000. Katie said that while his department final inside crowd count of 11,500 is not higher than the number of Trump audience members allowed in the arena, it might be a slight underestimate. Had had some more snuck in during the period when we were trying to assess the situation and get the door closed, when we're trying to get everyone through the mags, and then maybe it's 11,500 plus, he said. Mags is short for magnetometers. They'll walk through metal detectors that U.S. Secret Service set up to screen attendance of presidential events. Trump's tweeted boast Thursday night led to intense debate online about whether he was exaggerating his popularity in New Hampshire, a state he claims he lost to Hillary Clinton only because of voter fraud that was investigated but never confirmed. Some noted empty seats in the upper reaches of the arena in photographs and video feeds of the rally. An official at the SNHU arena who declined to be named said, "You're not going to get me involved in all this political fighting," said Friday that empty nosebleed seats would have been offset by all the people cramming themselves into the standing room space on the arena floor. The Trump people wanted the fire marshal to let more people in, and at some point they said no, the official said, but there were tons and tons more outside. It's not like they couldn't fit. It's not like they couldn't fill the place. Trump 2020 re-election campaign officials did not respond to requests for comment on Friday. So, and these are the nosebleed seats up here, of course. And an arena official said Friday that while some seats may have been empty, that reflects overflow in the floor area, and the fire marshal's count would still be accurate. Like, you know, if they could push forward, they would. Who would want to be in the very last seat in the nosebleed, like up here? You wouldn't be able to see anything. So I'm sure that if those people could push forward, they would push forward, right? All right, so I wanted to show you that in case you haven't heard. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. All right, now let's compare that to, touchy-feely Biden. Scratch and sniff Biden. Biden's campaign holds rally down the street from Trump. Oh, he's 11 points ahead in the polls. So if Trump had 11,500 plus 8 or 9,000 people standing outside, well, he must have had 20,000, right? He's 11 points ahead in the polls. He had to have more than Trump, right? That's just common sense. And, we're logical people. So how many did he have? Manchester, New Hampshire, while thousands packed the Southern New Hampshire University Arena to hear President Donald Trump speak, about 30 supporters of Joe Biden. What? No, that's got to be 30,000. 30? No, at the very least, there's a couple zeros missing. Maybe 3,000. No. 30 supporters of Joe Biden gathered at the Portland Pie Company to talk about the former vice president's campaign, stuffed in a small room with 6 tables, munching on several types of pizza. Campaign members discussed Biden's qualities with interested voters. 30 interested voters who probably haven't, they're probably older women that might have a crush on him because he's so touchy-feely. I don't know. We are here because we are standing up to the hate just down the road, announced Biden. New Hampshire Organizing Director Peter Doherty, 28 of Manchester. This is our moment, our chance. We need to talk to people now about what Joe Biden can do. This is our moment. 30 people, and down the road, there's close to 20 if you count the people outside. 20,000. Yeah, this is our moment. High energy and chants of "Go, go, Joe, go" could be heard through the restaurant from supporters and interested voters of all age. There was only 30 people there. He's experienced. He knows the ropes, the rules in Washington, and he understands politics, said 66-year-old Ann Arnecki of Derry about the qualities she likes about Biden. Her husband, Bob, 65, called the pushback from Republicans who do not agree with Democratic Party ideals terrible, adding that the majority of the ideas presented by Democrats are pro-humanity. Okay. I wonder if a little early senility is creeping in there, Bob. I'm just saying. Both said they hope Biden will be able to win the Granite State in the Democratic Party primary. He won't, not unless there's cheating. Manchester resident Rick Giberson, 67, said he's voting for Biden because he likes that Biden is old-fashioned in a lot of ways and that he seems to be an honest person. I don't know what happened to this person, if he's brain damaged or just not very smart, but Joe Biden is probably one of the very least honest people in the universe. But alas, I digress. Giberson said he followed Biden's political career and noted that he always tries to be the best he can for us. Yeah, okay, whatever. Clearly these people are delusional, and it's funny here. This was hilarious. 30 people show up and they interview 3 people. Were the rest of them media types? Probably. I was at the Trump rally. It was amazing. Our POTUS was amazing. It was so full of energy. 12,000 inside and about 3,000 to 4,000 outside. More than that. Watching the rally on widescreens. The best part were when they opened with the Pledge of Allegiance. When Trump said, "We are all of one God." The crowd stood up and cheered and cheered. When the national anthem was sung, everyone joined in. Prayer was said with respect to all. I was a volunteer and would do it again. Thank you to all who made the rally possible. God bless America. It's going to be so much fun watching all the Dems blow a gasket after Trump wins 2020. This time, there will not be any Russian lies and will be a landslide, except in New York and California, where too many dead people and illegals vote. And so this begs the question, is Biden more of an empty suit than Obama? The small? I don't know what that means. An honest person? Biden? Did he miss the time he had to drop out of the campaign for plagiarism? Had to drop out for lying because of his academic career? The time he groped young girls and promised to stop but hasn't? The deals he made to benefit his son and brother? This dude has his head in the sand. Rick, wake up! So the article fails to mention the rally down the street broke the stadium all-time attendance record of 11,500 people, with another 7,000 to 8,000 outside, to the diverse 30 people that showed up for Sleepy Joe. Question, just how diverse a sampling can you come up with only 30 people? Her husband, Bob, 65, called the pushback from the Republicans who do not agree with Democratic Party ideals terrible, adding the majority of the ideas presented by Democrats are pro-humanity. That's a joke. The demon rats are pro-murder of the unborn. And this from Eddie Hill. Days before rally, all you hear is Biden and Trump to hold rallies on the same day. No one shows up for Sleepy Joe, and his rally turns into a meeting. I don't think you could find an honest Democrat in a church. I agree with that. These Democrats aren't the Dems of old who did and do go to church, a synagogue. The church these Democrat socialists worship is the church of pedophilia and infanticide. So anyway, I'm just going to go on now because I wanted to give you a sampling of the type of blowback that got. Yeah. Oh, they're holding dual rallies. That wasn't a rally. You call a rally 30 people? Okay, let's go back. Okay, and oh gosh, I'm gonna stop with this here because, like I told you, I'm hangry and I'm going to eat something and I'm gonna come back and do another video. No, really, I am. All right, let's look at this and justice for the cow. Muslim cleric killed after cow he was about to ritually slaughter fights back. Cow described as being big and fierce. That poor cow looks absolutely terrified. Terrified. A Muslim cleric in East Java who was about to participate in the ritual slaughter of animals to celebrate the Islamic festival of Eid was killed after one of the cows fought back. Now, this is a barbaric festival. because they just slaughter the animals. They're fully conscious. They can see other animals being slaughtered. They can smell the blood. They are petrified, terrified, and the blood just runs in the streets. It's absolutely the most barbaric thing I've ever seen. The 64-year-old man, known as Sereke, was about to take part in the sacrificial butchering of 4 cattle and 17 goats as part of a ritual for the Islamic Day of Sacrifice at a mosque in Blitar. However, one of the cows escaped from its tethering and ran at full speed 100 meters towards Sereke. The cow suddenly ran toward him and struck Sereke's chin with its head. An eyewitness told the Jakarta Post, "The cow is big and fierce. Its leash was broken when it tried to escape," he added. Sereke fell backward and hit his head, rendering him unconscious before being rushed to the hospital. Sereke was in a coma for 3 days, but doctors couldn't save him. He was the head of a chapter of the country's largest Islamic organization. Despite the tragic nature of the death, most respondents to the Jakarta Post article didn't express much sympathy for Sereke, and you won't find that I express any sympathy either. Animal rights activists routinely denounce the festival of Eid, which they say legitimizes animal cruelty, and it does. One such voice is comedian Ricky Gervais, who tweeted yesterday that such barbarism shouldn't be condoned simply because people claim it to be part of their faith or culture. Animal cruelty is wrong, but its tradition doesn't make it right. It's part of my religion, doesn't make it right. It's my culture, doesn't make it right. And people are more important, doesn't make it right either. You know why? Because it's just effing wrong. And there is a war on free speech. We know that. So yeah, and I wish that it would have told us if the cow survived or if it was just ritually slaughtered by another person. I hope the cow escaped it, but it's one thing if you're killing to eat, and it's you or them, but when you're just ritually slaughtering them to let their blood run in the street, and you're doing it in such a cruel and inhumane way because the animal is fully conscious, they're aware of what's going on around them, they can see and smell the blood of other animals that have been butchered. So I think it's unconscionable, personally. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to get this uploaded. Grab something to eat because it is 10:13, so yeah, I'm beyond hangry at this point. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to come back and hit on some other news articles that I think you will be interested in. So come back and join me. No, really, come on back. You'll have fun. I promise. Okay, over here. Here we are. Oh, and look, I've got a sleeping kitten behind me. Boy, I look rough this evening. Oops. Hey, can you wake up for a minute and say hello? Hey, sweet pea. Oh, he's a sleepy kitty. You're a sleepy kitten. No, he's too sleepy. All right, so bye-bye. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it.